spotless cape as she took it off and slung it over the loose box wall. As always, Delia was dressed to suit the occasion, in this case in a pair of old worn breeches, a snagged and darned knitted tunic, and knee-high boots. She held up an unneeded lantern and blew the wick out. "I'm not sure what you can—" he began. "I've got the fetching gift," she reminded him. "I also brought you the boiled strap you forgot." "Because I didn't know it was going to be a breech berth," he retorted. Then, aware of how ungrateful he sounded, he flushed. "You're a star." "Well, when you didn't come back, I assumed the worst, and the worst is always a breech berth. I've learned an awful lot about foaling since I moved in with you and Isla." She hung the lantern up and handed him a pail holding a steaming strap made of boiled bandage. "Now let's get this poor creature out of her misery." As he took the strap, she moved to the mare's side and began feeling her swollen flank. The mare barely registered her presence with a flick of her ear. Relief settled over him like a warm cloak. Now he could concentrate on getting this thing done properly. Ariel had presented a breech berth with one leg folded back, which was not the worst that could have happened, but was a difficult proposition with only 2 people, especially when one of them had to keep the mare on her feet, leaving only Kordas to do the work of trying to get the foal into a proper position for birth. When the mare began pushing the foal through the birth canal, as she was now, only one leg, instead of 2, was protruding, and that meant the second leg was turned back and stuck at the shoulder. As he well knew, if he had made the mistake of grasping the first leg at this point to try tugging, serious damage could have resulted to the mare. To solve the problem, he had to get the fetus pushed back out of the vagina so that the forelimbs could be repositioned. This was more easily done if the mare was on her feet rather than on her side straining. That was why Sestin was at her nose, giving her strength and keeping her upright. The problem he'd had was that he needed to keep track of the leg that was correctly positioned, and each time he'd pushed the foal back, that leg had gotten away from him. To make certain the free leg wasn't lost in the process, he should have placed some boiled rope or other sterilized strap around the protruding leg before the repulsion began. And because he'd run out of the manor so fast, purely not thinking, he'd left things like that behind. There were plenty of supplies here in the stable, but Sestin didn't know where they were, and to be honest, neither did he. Ariel wasn't the only mare foaling tonight, and the stablemaster and both stable boys were somewhere out in the storm, attending to a mare who'd hidden herself at the bottom of the pasture. You could always be in their shoes right now. He quickly passed the soft strap around the tiny ankle, loosely twisted it once to hold it in place, and began shoving the foal back up into the mare's uterus. She responded with a contraction that felt like she was about to break his arm, but he got the foal back up where she didn't want it to go, inserted his other arm, and began feeling for the mispositioned leg, and barely got the tip of his finger on the knee, when another contraction moved it out of his grasp. He and the mare groaned together. "Got it," Delia said quietly from beside him. He spared a glance at her. Both her hands were on the mare's side, and her eyes were closed in concentration, bits of her hair already coming loose from the fat brown braid curled around her neck. A moment after that, he felt the foal's other foot fit itself into his hand. "Don't let her start a contraction," he said sharply to Sestin. He shoved his other hand up inside his poor mare, got the strap around the second hoof by feel, then slid his hands out, pulling the strap just barely taut as he removed his arms from her insides. "All right, let her lie down," he told the healer. Ariel responded to the healer's release by folding her legs beneath her and going straight down into the straw as he kept the tension up on that strap. Tension only. Just enough to keep both little feet where he wanted them, in the birth canal. He did not want to pull the foal out. All he wanted to do was to keep both legs positioned as if the foal was diving. The mare's flanks shuddered with a contraction, and just like that, as easily as if Ariel hadn't been struggling for the past half-candle mark, the foal slipped out onto the straw, rupturing the membrane around it as it did so.